Deputy Martin Hayden, who's sharing with Deputies Anya Collins, Paul Connaughton and Anthony Lawler. Deputy Hayden.
I welcome this much anticipated bill that has taken a frustratingly long time to come before the House, and I know, Minister, your determination in getting this through has helped to push it onto the floor here, and that's great. This bill, while very much welcomed by the horse and greyhound industry, is also positive for the betting industry in that it provides a regulatory system for remote bookmakers and intermediaries, and provides a fair and equal treatment of all bookmakers operating in the state regardless of their location. This bill amends the 1931 Betting Act, and I think we'll all agree that betting patterns have changed considerably in the last 83 years. While the main purpose of this act is to extend the licensing and taxation regime to remote bookmakers and the exchanges, it also brings an important change to opening hours of registered bookmakers' premises. And I, for one, very much welcome the change away from the wintertime, summertime situation. As I said earlier, one of the main purposes of this bill is to provide a level playing field for all operators in the industry. Up until now, we've not had a mechanism for taxing the remote operators. And the old wintertime rules forced bookmaking premises to close early at certain times of the year. And even if there was, let's say, greyhound meetings going on, or an evening meeting or somewhere in Dundalk, people who were having a bet on that were forced onto the online market where we weren't able to get any revenue back. So again, it's about having a level playing field and treating them all the same. And that might be one thing for the larger bookmaker firms who have a significant online presence, but the real people who were getting caught there were the smaller independent guys who employ an awful lot of people around the country. So I welcome that change. This bill, I believe, is a first step in us in the state trying to address an imbalance that previous government policy has let develop. I listened with interest to Micheál McGrath here last night, and Deputy Brown earlier bemoaned that this bill does not seek to increase the betting rate from 1% to 2%, when it was a Fianna Fáil Minister for Finance who reduced the tax from 2% to 1% back in 2006. A decision that Colin McCarthy has said looks increasingly like a mistake, which has resulted in inadequate funding for racing and also inadequate returns for the Exchequer. And in Colin McCarthy's report, he goes on to point out that even with an increase in betting tax from 1% to 2%, which will be estimated to generate somewhere between 60 and 70 million of revenue in Ireland, that would still have Ireland as the lowest betting tax of any country worldwide. Micheál McGrath is right when he says the racing industry never wanted to be subvented by the Exchequer, but it was failed Fianna Fáil policy that has led us to this situation. And the hope that the 2006 government's policy would attract new entrants to the market has not worked. Not one single new major bookmaker has entered the marketplace. What has happened instead is that in the last 10 years, betting turnover in Ireland has increased significantly from 1.3 billion to circa in around 4.5 billion. Yet the tax take for the Exchequer has fallen from 68 million in 2001 to 27 million in 2011, according to the Indicon report of 2012. And they're staggering figures. And at a time when we have to make very hard decisions that impact on every facet of society, we cannot justify such a low return and take-up. And that's why I feel this should be a first step in a measure. The other thing I'm very surprised by, all the contributors so far have hardly touched on the very key link, and there's an inextricable link here with the horse racing and breeding industry and the greyhound industry and this bill, because the horse racing and breeding industry is absolutely vital. It's one, particularly to rural Ireland, in areas where there aren't a whole lot of other jobs. It's an industry that's worth in excess of €1 billion of turnover, employs in around 16,000 people. And most of those jobs are in areas where there isn't a whole lot of other employment options. And I should know that in my own county in Kildare, there's about 4,000 people employed in the racing and breeding industry directly. Ireland is the only country in the world where the racing industry does not receive an automatic direct payment from the gambling industry, which relies on its product ultimately. And Minister, due to this being a finance bill, I've not concentrated on the perils or otherwise of excessive gambling. But the fact is that we have an industry that in 2011 turned over 4.5 billion and contributed just 27 million in tax. We have a horse racing and breeding industry where we are world leaders, albeit on a shoestring budget, and that the state subvents. The Horse and Greyhound Fund is probably, I believe, the best value for money investment in any industry that government make. But long term, we want to move to a place where the industry can stand on its own 2 feet again, with funding from the industry that benefits from its existence. You know, if you look at employment figures in the racing and breeding industry of 16,000. It's not that long ago that over 20,000 people were employed in the industry, and I believe with the proper support and investment we can get back to that, and in the process safeguard our future as world leaders in the racing and breeding industry, because you know we're there to be knocked now. Every other country wants to replicate what we're doing and take us down a peg, and there, if you look at countries like France and Australia, the level of investment that our competitors are putting in is mind-boggling and very frightening. It's something we need to be aware of. Racing revenue isn't just for the big and the wealthy. There's this sense that people mention the Coolmores and all the rest, and it's an easy tag. 90% of people who breed horses have 4 mares or less. You know, and they are invariably on in rural agricultural areas. This is real economic activity in the heart of rural Ireland. If you take the Punchestown Racing Festival in my own local area, or Galway Racing Festival, they're worth about approximately €60 million each to their own local economies. Ireland is the 4th largest producer of thoroughbreds in the world, producing 40% of the EU output and 11% of the world's total. Irish horses are exported to over 35 countries around the world with a total value of over €150 million last year. The industry is an important source of high-value foreign direct investment into the country, again mostly into rural areas. You won't have a successful breeding industry without a racing industry. They're interlinked, and vice versa. And similarly, you won't have them if they're not adequately funded. We've seen a massive drop in the level of funding that's gone to the racing industry in recent years, and obviously as all areas of the economy have taken, but this is something that can't be sustained long term. And you know, in recovering our economy as we look to do in this government, and we're well on our way to doing that, the large multinationals that you know, give foreign direct investment and the smart economy, these are all important aspects, but I really believe what gets this country back on its feet, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to concentrate on what we're good at. And in the racing and breeding industry, we have an industry where we have the expertise in the individuals, we have the soil type, we have the structure all around us, and we have the name as world leaders in it. It's something that needs to be protected to the very last. I believe this is the first very important step in that direction in getting back to adequately funding that, and I commend the bill to the House.
Thank you, Deputy Hayden. Deputy Anya Collins, you have 3 minutes.